These children, man. These children.
Yeah.
So we have some more allegations going down.
That's not Diddy.
That's not Diddy, not Epstein, but still dealing with these kids.
And it came from a kid's
Something
network.
something that we grew up watching.
We literally grew up watching these people. This wasn't after our time.
No.
This was our time.
Yes.
They were 3-4 years older than us. Like, so
Nickelodeon.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, there was a documentary that just came out called Quiet on the Set. It's about the 1990s and a gentleman named Dan Schneider who took over Nickelodeon Studios with some of the very popular shows at the time, and he made some very popular shows also. But arguably, the show that he was most known for was All That, which was like a Saturday Night Live for kids.
I loved all that.
Dude, All That introduced me to hip hop.
Yeah.
LL Cool J, Missy Elliott, all of them.
Yeah, it was a
very progressive show at the time.
It was a great show. I freaking loved all that.
It was legitimately Saturday Night Live for kids.
Good Burger came from.
Good Burger. The PRS Cargo, the guy in the bathtub. Principal William Bange Pempal. Then the cooking show with Kenan Thompson where he cooked with the chocolate.
A lot of great skits.
Fantastic show.
But just Dan Schneider made a lot of good shows.
He made a lot of
shows that I enjoyed.
He made Drake and Josh. He made the Amanda Show. And for all intents and purposes, like, they were quality shows. And he got the best out of those kids, because let's not make light of the situation. What was alleged in there was disgusting, but those kids made good quality TV.
So break it down. What exactly was? I didn't watch I've watched most of the first episode. There's 4 episodes.
So it's not all about Dan Schneider.
Okay, only the first episode is Dan Schneider.
The whole thing's about Dan Schneider. He's in every episode, the stuff they talk about.
Wait, I thought you said not the whole thing is.
Correct. So here's the long and short of it. So Dan Schneider comes in, he makes these shows, he finds the kids, he kind of attaches himself to a few. Okay, one of them's Katrina Johnson, who was she played the judge in a couple of those skits and had the big nose and everything.
Yes.
And she ended up developing a little bit sooner than other girls, right? And by all accounts, she's a very attractive woman now. Like, and she was beautiful even when, not in a sexual way, but like a beautiful young girl, you know? But as she started developing, Dan Schneider's like, you got to get out of here, because we can't have that on our show. So then he brings in Amanda Bynes, who becomes insanely popular, dude.
I remember Amanda
Bynes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Popular. And there's stuff where, like, he got real close with her. He was always next to her. He was always hugging her. He was in a hot tub with her one time. Like, shit like that. And so that was some of the sexually, like, charged things that were, like, talked about. But then there was, like, allegations of, like, racism. So there was, like, this younger African-American kid that wasn't Kenan Thompson. Surprisingly, they didn't talk about Kenan at all on that.
But didn't Kenan come out and say some shit too?
I'm not sure. I can't speak to that. But this one black kid was like, you know, they wanted to make me a rapper. They wanted to make me, you know, I was selling chocolate to someone, but I was selling chocolate on the street corner, and I kept going, shh, come on, man, come on. Like, making him look like a thug, pretty much. So that was Dan Schneider's thing. He perpetuated stereotypes, and he was kind of creepy a little. Some of the shit he did was kind of creepy. He was real into feet, and there's a lot of feet things on there, right? Like, on all that. But then we start hearing about some other people. And there's this one guy, his name's Brian Peck. Brian Peck was like a vocal coach, kind of an acting coach, and he got close to someone in Nickelodeon that was a young boy, and he started to hang around him a lot. And then this young boy says, you know, well, I want to hang out with him because, you know, I I'm getting somewhere. I'm going to have my own show here soon. I'm becoming more popular than I've ever been before, you know? He gets woken up by this guy sexually assaulting him because this kid lived in like Orange County and the Nickelodeon studio was an hour away. So when they were shooting, he would stay there, right? Because like they were tight, right? Later on, this young man goes on and he says, I was 15 years old and I was sexually assaulted. And the lady on the interviewer, yeah, as she's supposed to do, goes, can you get into that a little bit more? And he just looks at the camera and says, I don't really know how to elaborate more on that. And she goes, okay, well, what can you describe? And he said, and it was the most, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not like, I can't really like say it like how he did, but he's like, imagine the most graphic and disgusting thing that could be done to a 15-year-old boy that would hurt and that would be humiliating, and multiply it by 2. He said, that's what happened to me. And it was consistent. And dude, like my heart broke for this kid. Broke. Because think about like, we just talked about it. We were kids watching that show, right? We laughed. We thought it was funnier than hell, right? What happens when a lot of people tune into a show? The ratings. The ratings are through the roof.
Right.
What keeps shows on the air? Ratings. So by us liking and watching that show, we continued to allow that culture of misconduct and violence to go. Now,
no, we didn't allow it.
Now, getting back to Dan Schneider, when this happened, this young man was like dragged. There were like big Hollywood stars, Taron Killam, James Marsden, Ryder Strong, Will Friedle, those guys. And they wrote letters of support for Brian Peck. Like, oh, I've known him forever. There had to have been some coercion and Brian just broke, you know, like sticking up for him. Dan Schneider is the only person that called that kid that was molested and said, what happened? And he told me, he said, I'm so sorry. I had no idea, but I'm going to tell you what, he's done. He's gone. Don't ever worry about it again. And I'm here if you need anything. So, which made me think a little bit. I'm not excusing what Dan Schneider did, because if what he did is actually happened, that's disgusting. But would an actual sexual predator, or someone who was like actually like a violent sexual predator, call and sympathize with a kid and not want anything from him or nothing, but actually just be the only person to reach out to him? Because at this point, Dan Schneider is not working really with Nickelodeon anymore. He stands to gain nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would think not.
You would think not.
You would think not. But
and again, I'm not excusing what was alleged.
So that would bring up, another question. If that was the truth, so if that's true, that kind of discredits a lot of the Dan Schneider stuff. So I don't understand why they would put out a documentary that kind of highlights both sides of that. Because
Dan Schneider was actually, it wasn't just to kids though. Like Dan Schneider, it details in there that Dan Schneider was kind of a creep to people that worked with him. He was very demanding. He was very vocal about what he wanted. He would humiliate people if they didn't do what he said. Like, and I'm not excusing that, but we've worked with people. You and I worked for someone that was that way. If something wasn't done his way, he was calling you out. Black Friday, if you took because remember, they told us you are going to be working 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. You are required to take an hour break. And we would go back there to take that hour break. He'd flip. You need to be back out on the floor. We worked with a guy that was very demanding and would kind of hold things against you, or if you kind of confided in him, he'd weaponize it later. He would do that. Maybe not to you, but I mean, I experienced it.
Yeah, I never had no issues.
I experienced it, and I know other people that did. I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but that's just what people that demand excellence do, because they want the best out of you, and Sometimes you have to intimidate to get the best. You really do. I don't think that that's appropriate, but I understand that it happens.
Right.
But the other thing that he would do, he would ask females for massages on set. Not the girls, but like the writers. Hey, if you give me a massage, I'll get that skit on the air. You know what I mean? He would do shit like that. This Dan Schneider guy. That's fucking creepy, dude. Like, there's a lot of shit that was creepy that he did. Do I think he was a child molester? No, I really don't. I think he was a weird fuck. I think he was very weird. But the main thing that it was weird though, because like we're talking about how he's a creep. These kids would talk about it too, but the kids also said, my parents were always on set. Like, nothing was ever done unless my parents were there. Like, and that kind of gave me pause too with Dan Schneider, because this Brian Peck guy that molested one of the young men didn't ever want the parents around. He weaponized the parents against the kid. Like, Dan Schneider never did that. Like, those parents were there, and those parents that were interviewed will tell you.
So what was the outing of Dan Schneider then? Like, what was
that he's just a creep.
Yeah, a lot of people are creeps.
Yeah. You want to know something really fucked up about Brian Peck, though? He went to jail for 6 months.
For?
Gross sexual imposition and sexual assault on a minor.
Oh, shit.
You want to know the most fucked up thing? Less than a year after he was released, a guy that worked at Nickelodeon was helming a show called The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody on Disney. He hired him to come and work on the show. He hired him.
He hired
Brian Peck to come and work on that show.
A year after he got released.
Less than a year. Here's the most fucked up part, though, dude.
Wow.
2 little boys were the main character. And this fucking director guy alleges, I had no idea. I just said, hey, I heard that you went to, is everything okay? Yeah, it's all taken care of. It was a big misunderstanding. It's all taken care of. I promise it'll never happen again. What the fuck?
Well, they should be able to look up and see if he's a...
Now, this was back in like 2006,
Kitty
though.
diddler.
So this wasn't like you couldn't like just go on your phone and type the shit in. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, if you're working at the Disney Channel, bro, like,
they got pool. They can figure that shit out. They can figure that shit out.
You need to vet these people, because all it is kids.
They knew.
They had to have. And it's just more shit that we're seeing today of kids being put in positions that like they shouldn't be in. And everyone has wanted to talk like this is a new thing for so long. And like, because we look at the past with rose-colored glasses. Oh, well, man, this is nothing like it was when I was a kid. You're right, because it was fucking worse when we were kids if this shit was going on.
Yeah, but all right, so
because at least these kids have the internet now to get it out.
So as far as the whole Dan Schneider stuff, a lot of there would just be a lot of subliminal messages, messages within stuff that he would make, right? Yeah. Some of it, like I said, I didn't make it through the entire first episode yet, but some of the images that, or scenes, right? Yeah. If you're an adult, you're going to look at it and be like, whoa, that's a little wild. But if you're a kid and you have no idea, you're just going to think it's funny.
Exactly.
But that's been happening since the beginning. I mean, go back and look at a lot of the Disney shit.
That's been happening forever.
I know. But
that's why I'm agreeing with what you're saying, yeah.
But is it bad? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're a kid and you don't know it's subliminal, you're not going to get it, right?
I think here's the difference.
Is that bad?
I think here's the difference. So they showed a scene with some show that Jamie Lynn Spears was on, Britney Spears' younger sister. I don't remember the name of it, but evidently it was a pretty big show at the time. And they were trying to open something up, and they couldn't. And when they did, it blasted on Jamie Lynn's face, and it looked like a cum shot on her face, right? Kid's gonna think that's hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, they fucking got her. You know what I mean? But like as an adult, like now being a parent and watching like a show, I'd be like, oh shit. You know what I mean? But then go look at like a show like Rocko's Modern Life, which was right around that same time, right? Rocco would do like they went to the Choky Chicken to eat food. We know that was a hilarious name when we were kids. And like I remember my dad laughing at it, and now I know why, because my dad got that it was a jerk off
But
joke.
that's
But
what I'm
that's the
saying.
difference. It was a cartoon. It wasn't happening to kids, like actual kids.
I understand.
The cartoon aspect, I think, separates it.
And I, like I said, that's why I said some of the scenes are just like kind of
Disgusting.
unacceptable. For
Ariana,
sure.
did you see the thing about
the one
Ariana
with-
Grande with
That's what I'm
potato?
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like that's unacceptable. Like
Gross.
shit like that. But like some of the other shit, like you can put stuff into a scene and make it subliminal. Now the whole like on kids' faces, you know what I'm saying?
Gross.
Like that's
When I was a kid, I thought it was hilarious. But now looking at it, because I was watching those clips on the show, and I was like,
But
what
can
the
we?
fuck?
But also, can we just take it for what it is? Like, can we just take it for
No.
like what
Knowing
was it?
what
Like
we
as
know
a
now.
syrup?
Knowing what we know now.
Yeah, but
no.
I mean, shit just squirts in people's face all the time. You ever open up a ketchup packet and you got it on your shirt or got it in your face or
I've
like,
gotten it on my shirt, but I have never had something explode on my face where it just like goes down like that, like
Right.
a fucking Riley Reid scene. You know what I mean? Like,
I understand that, but like the possibility of something getting on your face is there,
Absolutely.
right? And
but it never
they're
happened
gonna
to a little boy. It always happened to a pretty young girl.
Oh, I don't know. I guess I didn't get
recounted
that
it,
far.
dude. Like I thought about it. I was like, man, like that never happened to like Keenan. That never happened to Nick.
Maybe it
Cannon.
did.
I'm pretty sure it didn't. Like
I'd have to go. You'd have to go through and watch everything because a lot of shit happened.
that Amanda Bynes got a lot of shit on her face. That Katrina Johnson girl got a lot of shit on her face. Ariana Grande literally was laying on the bed and like there was water being poured on her and it was like so sexual looking now as an adult. And I'm like, bro, she's 13, man. Like this ain't even cool. Like,
Right. No, that's what I was saying. A lot of that shit's unacceptable. But also, they're showing us that shit out of context as well. They're showing it the context that they're putting it in.
They have to put it in their context, or you're not going to have a good documentary.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we watch that whole clip from beginning to end within the context of the storyline behind the clip, I mean, would it really look like it then?
Who knows?
You know what I'm saying?
You would have to go back onto like Paramount Plus and you'd have to watch the episode.
Right.
You'd have to, because it's the thing about Nickelodeon shows that were so great, and I think that were so set them apart from so many different channels and shows, was everything in an episode tied together. You know what I mean? So if there was like that thing blowing up, like it probably started from the beginning of the episode and it was a running joke throughout the entire episode. It wasn't like Disney.
Maybe.
Excuse me. It wasn't like Disney Channel where just like something just happens and then they move on, because Disney Channel's for like kids with like ADD. You know what I mean? It was boom, 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 boom. Nickelodeon always had a structured story, and that's why I liked it so much, because it really was crazy. But you can also see though, Anthony, like, so Dan Schneider came in with all that.
Right.
Okay, and that's when he kind of the Schneiderverse, right? Look at shows before Dan Schneider, like Clarissa Explains It All, or Are You Afraid of the Dark, or Salute Your Shorts, those type of shows, right? I mean, I watched those shows recently, like with Wyatt, like being on vacation. Like, hey, let me show you like a show I used to watch. Oh my God, it's there. And like we watch it. There's nothing like that in those shows, man. There's nothing like that in those shows. Like in Clarissa, there's not one thing that explodes on her face. There's not one fucking water bucket that just drips right onto her shirt. You know what I mean? There's nothing like that. It's much more clean. It's way more clean. Like the humor. And more wholesome in a way. Like it wasn't trying to make you laugh just to make you laugh. It was like building up the joke over the whole episode. And then you're laughing your ass off. But like all that was just like, I need to laugh right now. So what can we do that's fucking weird and wacky to make you laugh right then? You know? Like,
yeah, I don't know, brother. It's some shit to really think about. You know? And pay attention to for future.
Past repeats
future
itself. Shit. Disney Channel's got some weird shit now. I mean, they really do. As a dad who has a son that watches Disney, I mean, it's gotten way better. Like there's shows like Bluey now, which is just the most wholesome thing I've ever watched. Big City Greens. That's got some lewd humor in it, but it's not over the top, you know? But
Bro,
really the most
people made a
risque-
big deal out of Teletubbies.
The fuckers were weird.
Yeah, but they legit didn't talk at all. But people were always saying like the purple one was the gay one. You know what I'm saying?
My wife
There's
made
always somebody. That's what I'm saying. Like we gotta pay attention, but also look at everything in context.
Yeah. Like that's what Megan said yesterday about Barney. She said, because Barney was one of her favorite things growing up.
Right.
And she goes, they were saying Barney was the freak. Really, all he was doing was teaching kids wholesome shit and hugging them.
Mhm.
Like, that's what you do to a kid. You hug them.
Yeah.
I was a kindergarten teacher, bro. I hugged those kids every day. And there wasn't anything weird about it. They were just little kids. Some of them didn't have a dad. Some of them didn't have, parents that cared. You know, you got to be that person for them. And I think Barney doing that shit showed kids, hey, it's okay if it's not your mom or dad, but if it's someone that you and your family trust, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I would have no problem with you hugging Wyatt. No problem. Just like I know you'd have no problem if Gianni was down and out about something and he was down here and you ran upstairs like, okay, man, can I have a hug? Yeah. Like, come on. Like, fuck it. Why not? Because you got to care about the kids, but Nickelodeon sexualized it in a way. And it's sad. It's really sad. Like, a whole generation of shit that we loved is built upon
great shows.
Sexualization.
I don't know. I gotta finish the.
Please
the
do and tell me how you feel about it because
if you've watched it already, let us know what you thought about it because I'm still going through it. So I'm gonna let y'all know maybe next week.
Absolutely.
Maybe next week.
Next week I want to forward. In fact, no, don't tell me what you think about it. Tell me next week.
Okay, we'll see if I can remember that. Wow.
I'm going to tell you what, I think a good topic for next week, and let us know what you guys think. There's a lot of stuff that's coming out right now that's being remade. There's a lot of remakes that are coming out right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do things always need to be remade? I think that would be a good topic for next week. Do you need to remake anything? Like, do remakes need to exist? Like, Roadhouse comes out tomorrow. Jake Gyllenhaal and Conor McGregor in the Patrick Swayze movie.
Mm-hmm.
The X-Men cartoon from when we were kids just got kind of like a sequel type thing 28 years later. We're banking on nostalgia there. I mean, Alien. Remember Alien? With the Ridley Scott movie about that black alien, right?
Yes.
With Sigourney Weaver. That's getting a kind of a sequel remake type thing coming out. The trailer just
what's old is new, bro. Everything's coming back.
Why? And why does it need to happen? Or why should it not happen?
Nostalgia. I don't know.
We just talked about nostalgia though. We look at stuff with rose-colored lenses until we actually look at it.
They haven't been accused of any pedo yet.
Yeah, Ridley Scott's not Roman Polanski.
So once that happens, we'll see what goes down.